God.
I have it on there.
No, that's yeah.
All right, connecting to YouTube.
It'll be fun to talk about it.
And I just got to connect the chat, and then we'll be off and running.
Okay, just in case.
No,
Just to be a dick.
it's not going to yell at you.
You're such a dick. Why you'd want to yell at me.
And anyone who might be joining us will be starting the show any minute here, or in about 30 seconds. And as always, we encourage any commenting under the video. We'll put your comments on screen and share it with a friend, for Christ's sakes. We could use the attention.
Well, we love the attention.
We love the attention.
I think it says wrong about legal weed on the thing, though.
Oops.
How could it?
I don't know.
I did change it.
I don't know how such.
Wrong
thing-
about Ohio.
I don't know how.
Hey,
such,
are we broadcasting on YouTube live?
We are right now. Yep.
It's so exciting.
I know. Hold
So
on.
there we go. So yeah, and
See if I can find it.
All
oh,
right.
wait a second. Shit.
We should tell people that's a
Yeah,
place
you can
they
go to
can
YouTube.
find us now.
Oh yeah, we should.
Be live.
I made a big deal about it last week.
Last week you did. So we
must have
should
missed
say it a few times.
Sitting right next to you.
It does say legal weed. This is stupid. God, that makes me crazy. It was just on the screen to say Ohio. I'm sorry to the audience, how whatever confused they must be now. We will go on. We will survive.
Thanks for
And
the,
I'll change it.
Thanks for the pep talk.
Yeah,
The ones that was
Let's get
Life.
first week, everyone.
I guess so. I'm telling you, it said Ohio. I don't know what happens.
I'm subscribing to us on YouTube, and I'm really doing it this time, Davis.
Oh, I did
You're
it.
not
I
I
subscribing?
think I did.
I did. It was hard to find, but I did it.
Yes, because we got to subscribe.
We have
gotta
12
tell people
subscribers
about it.
now.
It's
Nope, 13, baby.
Nice.
isn't it
Nice.
I was 13.
Isn't it w,
Get on there,
isn't
everybody.
it at WAE podcast?
I just Googled Wrong About Everything
the best.
podcast. I just searched
I'll
it.
grab and
boom.
put it
And
on
it came
screen
up?
at a certain
Yep.
point.
You can just search Wrong
That's
About
good.
Everything podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
you'll
and I
find
did. That's good news because when I did it last week, that's not what came up. So
Oh.
the algorithm improved.
Nope, look at this.
Good. All right, guys.
All right.
Ready when you are.
We're ready.
All right, rolling on video.
Live. We're live. I wonder if I can share this.
You can.
Yes, you
My
can.
God, you can. Absolutely.
You literally pretend to do it every week.
You should.
I know they don't
Let's
actually
seize this
do it.
moment. Yes. Yes. My God, you can. Absolutely pretend to do it.
Turn your sound down.
This is why I don't like to do it.
Now who's first week? All right, we'll start the commercial.
Who's quarterbacking?
Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wrong About Everything podcast. I am conservative strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am Democratic strategist and the Puerto Rican heat, Javier Murillo.
And I am small business attorney and not in the office today, Davis Sensen.
And we are
Wrong About Everything.
Wrong about everything.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for, we're having to start a little bit early. Amy and I apologize. We have a work event that we have to get to. So we are starting about 20 minutes earlier than we normally do, so we apologize on that. Please, if you missed any of the podcast, find us on not only on Facebook and on Twitter and Threads and all that, or X, whatever it's called now, but also please go to our YouTube page, which I believe is at WAE podcast, or else find it the way you find everything else on there, and you can watch us live there, or there's tons of clips on there that Gabe, our producer, put together, so there's a lot of good stuff there, so please subscribe and check us out there.
I just shared the link on my Insta.
That's great.
I'm so proud of myself. I really did it. You can go to my Insta, and it'll
So-
just take you right to us.
So here we are in the Minnesota Credit Union Network studios, deep within the bowels of MBC Studios here in Northeast Minneapolis.
Sorry.
Careful, you okay there?
Sorry.
You okay there?
Sorry.
We just want to put another plug in for our good friends at the credit unions because Amy and I got to see the Tranche Master General Ryan Smith just this week. Had a good time talking a little shop with him and
And a little tranche, but
a little tranche.
we don't like to lay it on too thick.
No, we like to save the tranche for the show.
That's when he's at his best.
We have Davis is with us, but from an alternative location.
Is that the cabin?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's true.
Wow. See?
Please.
I'm over here flipping voters in Wisconsin, one at a time.
Yeah. Very efficient. Good for you. And then also don't forget to check out our website at wrongaboutEverything-podcast.com. Thank you, Honey Hive Digital and Dustin Greggy. And then also our good friends at Blue Ox Media for our fun billboards all around the town.
Love.
Then also, I want to talk about our good friends at Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them. Consultations are free. Please contact them at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. All right, so I'm just going to
Where
launch.
shall we start?
I'm going to what?
Where are we starting?
Well,
Minnesota?
let's start with Minnesota.
Okay.
I had something on there earlier, but I'll move that to the end of the show.
Okay.
But let's start with Minnesota. Bunch of stuff going on that we'll talk about. They had primary day up in Duluth, where I think the marquee matchup was the primary for mayor. There are 5 candidates. The top 2 get to move on to the general election. And the top 2 were both names we knew. Current Mayor Emily Larson and former state senator, and I think state rep too, Roger Reinert,
Yeah.
though the order they came in was at least a surprise to me.
Yeah, same.
In that, and I have the numbers
And
here.
the margin of victory, by
And-
the way.
and-
Two
and the
things.
margin, yeah.
I was surprised. I figured the top 2 would be those
Yes.
2. But it was the margin of victory and that Roger Reinert
Yep.
really ran away with it.
Yeah, Reinert had 63% of the ballots. Larson had 35%, and it's just a primary, so it's not the most votes, but the ballots were way higher than the last time. They had about 24% of the registered voters voted on Tuesday or before, which the last time they had this in 2019, it was only 15%. So I mean, people were watching this; they were paying attention up there. This was just the primaries, but.
So a couple of us, as I reached out to some folks in Duluth just to sort of talk about what they thought went down. One, I mean, Roger Reinert obviously has a tremendous name ID, has been in the area. I will say, and I think maybe I talked about it on the show, I was at the Duluth Air Show maybe 3 weeks ago. Did not see the mayor, did not see Mayor Larson, but did see Roger Reinert. And he wasn't campaigning. He was actually volunteering. He was just there handing out, like at the end, they handed out, I can't remember what it was, but something from anyway, he was just there as a volunteer working at the air show. So certainly an accomplished politician who knows how to work. And definitely allies. I've also heard that there was just some like nuts and bolts things that were happening in Duluth, and that folks in Duluth weren't all that surprised. I just and I was up there and I saw like equal signs for Larson and Reinert, and signs don't vote, so who knows? I just thought, well, incumbent mayor is just going to have such an advantage, but apparently no. There were some things that folks didn't like.
Well, and I'll let the Dems talk, but I kind of thought that Larson, who still might win the general, so I mean, it's not like she's dead, but I kind of saw her as being built up as kind of the next big thing with the Dems. So this surprised me. Maybe it shouldn't have, because I don't know, but it did surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, I think one, I think it's a wake up call to progressives in Duluth. I think this race and that'll be the defining probably issue, I'm guessing, between now and November. I think this is why I hated August primaries, because even
I agree. We need to move the primary.
Because
This is ridiculous.
even like with the it's much higher turnout than last time around, but that's like 24%.
Yeah.
Like that's, and this is what I, hate about our municipal races, and why, like, one of the things I like about ranked choice voting in the Twin Cities is that like our general election electorates are just much bigger, and they're much more diverse, and so many more people participate in them. So I think this is a real wake up call. This is what I like. I also made some calls to folks in Duluth who are involved in Duluth politics, and because I will confess, as a city person, that Duluth. I'm not proud of this, but it's sort of an annex in my brain. It's like I don't really think about it. I don't. So I went to experts, and I think so what I heard was that there's some. That there's some really local issues, and people like some mayoral staff who like alienated a lot of people, and that progressives were just sort of like thought like, oh, she had it in the bag, and like weren't really coming out for her. So
I spoke to your friend in Duluth, who's a Democrat, and what they said was, the roads are terrible and the budget's out of control, which is usually not things you hear from Democrats. So, and I don't, obviously I don't live in Duluth, but I visit there.
The roads are terrible.
Roads are terrible.
They should come to St. Paul.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
No
Don't
kidding.
even get me started.
That's next
Mayor.
week. That's next week. But anyway,
Concrete roads.
I was surprised that the visceral reaction was for something so municipal and non-political, though I guess the size of the budget's a little political. But
Yeah.
Well, I think that when it comes to mayoral elections, people do go back to like, sometimes candidates, I think, go so far afield trying to make this about, statewide or national issues, but people that live in a city, they want people to stay in their lane. They want people to do the things that a mayor is supposed to do, which is, like public safety, roads, the budget, property taxes. I just think the more granular and local you get, that's what people are looking at. And that's what I heard too from folks. That just seemed to be kind of out of whack.
And then I'll move on to our next topic. But Roger Reinert was a DFL senator and representative. He was very moderate, though. I mean, I think everyone would say he was a pretty moderate, and he did run this race as kind of like a pro-business Democrat. So there are things, as Javier said, there are things for the progressives to learn, how to message what they're doing and what they did, and there's things for the Republicans to learn about how to message against those progressive things. But also, and I'm talking to my boys here, my boys and girl.
What the hell?
That
Finish that
you have to have charismatic candidates to make those messages against the progressives work, and that is something that Republicans aren't doing and need to put a higher premium on, because Reinert was he's not a Republican but ran as the more conservative person, but he also has a much more a softer image and much more congenial than a lot of us.
Both of them, he's just very involved in the community. He's a tough candidate to run against. He's tough. He's been there for a long time. He knows a lot of folks. He's run a lot. His name is well known.
Did he retire from the Senate, or was
he retired from the Senate?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because he went to law school,
Simonson?
like later in life.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah, he's a naval naval
Yeah,
officer.
in 2017 he went to law school, which I thought was interesting.
So Simonson took his seat, and then McEwen, I think.
Yeah.
Going
Well,
back,
and it's easier. And just if your issues are roads and things like that, it's always easier to be the outside person saying, I make these roads better,
Yep.
than to be
Right.
the person who's like, well, shit, I've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
What would be nice is if St. Paul just filled the potholes, though. I'm really not asking a lot. It's August, and maybe fill the potholes.
So the trajectory that is the Senate seat I was wondering. It went from Reinert to Simonson, and then Simonson got beaten in a primary by McEwen.
Yes, by
Correct.
McEwen.
Right, and that's the thing that I think, like, because Duluth as a voting bloc has become more and more progressive, and so I think his challenge is going to be heading to the general is that having defined himself in this race as the moderate in the race, like with a broader electorate, not sure that's going to be the pitch.
Well,
Like
it
it's going to be
kind of
much
depends
more,
on turnout too, right? I mean, it's an off year,
Right.
but August primary. I'm actually amazed 24% turned out, because sometimes our primaries are in the teens. And so again, I will pitch to the legislature. Let's change up the primary. Like to have it in the middle of summer is just
All right. Well,
silly. We should have an earlier primary.
now
March.
let's go to the courtroom portion of our program. We got two to talk about, but the first one is Anthony Lazzaro
Your party benefactor.
got his sentence today, and they were asking for 30 years because
Which was the max,
which was the
correct?
max. Ultimately, he got 21.
Yep.
Yeah, not enough. Not enough. 5 girls between the ages of 15 and 16 he was found to have trafficked. We know, I mean, there was just the whole just grossness, particularly at the end of his trial. Folks might remember that he had basically a friend that he had texted a bunch of like pictures to and statements to, and at the very end of the trial, that person turned over his phone to law enforcement and to the prosecution, and there was a sort of the dramatic. They stopped the thing. Someone flew down, got the phone, brought it back, and then the prosecutor asked him a bunch of questions like, "Have you done this? Have you done that?" And he said, "No, no, no." And then they revealed all the text messages, which was him perjuring himself left and right, which was really a big win for the prosecution. I'm not sure that they had, to that point, made a strong case, but that person that finally turned over his phone really, put the nail on the
And I
head.
think
And
I
just,
said,
like for background, right? That like if you're coming into this new, right, that Anton Lazzaro had been a close ally to the former Minnesota GOP chair, Jennifer Carnahan, and was a big fundraiser for the party and stuff. And so but the dude sounds like a little psycho.
cartoon character. I mean, and he was somebody I had never met him, though. I guess I knew the name. I think I said Anthony Lazzaro, obviously Anton, but like he would have like Cougarans and bullion at his place. What was interesting is I saw
Ingots.
Was it? Is it Lou Raguse? Is that
Lou Raguse does just an
Raguse
amazing
did a
job.
really good job on this, and I was kind of looking through his Twitter today, and they were saying like he has to give up his apartment at the Ivy.
He has to forfeit it.
Forfeit it because it was part of the scheme, but he didn't have to give up his Ferrari because all he did is give one of the women a ride home in it. So I thought,
But
Well,
like
hopefully
so
he won't be driving it anytime soon.
a sense of his so he's in court, he's being sentenced. He says to the judge, "I take offense at the government's motion that I perjure myself in the trial," which they
You mean how
showed in
you
real
perjured
time.
yourself in the trial? You scuzzbag.
And then he says to the judge, "I think you're an honest man and extremely intelligent. I am disappointed by many of your rulings. Who do you think you are?"
Right.
You're going to lecture the judge
about being an honest man? You are neither honest nor a man, you piece of shit.
yeah. Another interesting thing that came out of this is that, and this was once again reported by Lou Raguse, one of Lazzaro's past attorneys was ordered off the case for mailing Lazzaro pornography in jail in an
Yes.
envelope labeled legal mail.
I wish we had Mike Bryant on, because I'd
Legal
like to
mail.
hear
It's right
about
here. I'm not making it up.
Nothing
It's right
illegal
here.
in this envelope.
in an envelope labeled
Totally
legal
legal
mail. The
mail.
attorney was not named in this hearing.
Top
I only
secret.
wish. Gross.
Well,
Jeez.
yeah. God bless. I don't know how that attorney kept their name out of it, but oh my God, legal mail.
Legal mail.
And
Legal mail.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's a rule that when your attorney sends you something, they don't open it. But I would imagine that's probably not a rule, because why wouldn't your attorney just be sending you like contraband?
Nail files.
The judge said a couple things. He said, "I can't stress this enough. The victims in this case were not women disguised as girls. They were children."
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge. He also said, "Mr. Lazzaro has shown sympathy for 2 people and 2 people only, himself and Jeffrey Epstein." Ugh. Or as Mr. Lazzaro referred to him, my brother.
Yeah, his brother. He called him his brother.
That he called him his brother
What?
in those texts.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because they asked him if he supported Jeffrey. And he said, "No, I don't." And he called him my brother, Jeffrey Epstein. That was one of the big.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
R.I.P.
this
my
man,
brother.
this
That
thing
was-
is so gross and tired and effed up. I can't even believe it. Also, the victims were able to give impact statements. One of the mothers of one of the victims talked about how her daughters, wanted to take her own life. and that Lazaro was sitting in the courtroom smirking at her as she was talking about this. He showed zero remorse. He only defended himself against perjury, which he absolutely did. And then one of the victims got up and said, Tony took advantage of me. My innocence was stolen from the second he opened his apartment door. He's a child predator and he preyed on me. Ugh. I mean, it's just horrifying.
Yeah.
Before we move on to national stuff, also, ex-Minneapolis officer, what was his name? Tao?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Something like that.
So the last former Minneapolis police officer convicted in state court for his role in the killing of George Floyd did not show, this is the reporter, did not show any repentance or admit any wrongdoing as he was sentenced Monday to 4 years and 9 months. Former Officer Tao had previously testified that he merely served as a human traffic cone when he held back concerned bystanders. I was a little surprised that the people that were not actively involved got the sentences they got, but also throughout being able to watch the whole thing, because it was the trial was on television, that you got a greater appreciation for what actually happened there, and how many times there was an opportunity to stop what happened to George Floyd.
And making clear that that police officers, as officers of the peace, have a duty to intervene when bad things are happening, including if it's a fellow officer. But this was another example of it's like things not to say when you're in court. Like the judge said to Officer Tao, like, I would have hoped that after 3 years you'd show a little more remorse and a little less preaching, because he was just going off on all these tangents and about how he's comparing himself to Job in the Bible. Like, maybe not.
In national news, there was a big ballot initiative in Ohio, Issue 1, which was looking to make all future ballot measures need to receive 60% of the vote in order to get onto the ballot. And this was, absolutely targeted at trying to prevent future abortion measures from getting on the ballot. And it did not pass, and it did not pass by quite a large margin. It was 57.01 rejecting the measure. So this is another blow to the pro-life movement in a reddish state.
I think even more than to a pro-life movement, I think it's also like we've seen a series of examples like over the years, and they're getting increasingly desperate, where the Republican Party's response to being having a minority position is to insist on minority rule, and that what they tried to do was change the rules. They, in fact, this past legislative session, they had first done away with August primaries in Ohio. Then they changed their minds to put this on the ballot because they knew it would be a low turnout, because they expected it would be a low turnout. We actually had very high turnout, but they tried to rig the process because they knew, because people who are pro-choice in Ohio in record time got enough signatures to put on the November ballot the question of putting abortion rights into the Ohio state constitution. So they were trying to rig the system, and yesterday the no won handily. So in the last presidential election, Biden won 7 counties, only 7 counties, and this time last night no won those 7 counties, but added more. There were 22 total counties, so 7 Biden counties plus 15 more. No won every county in Northeast Ohio. And if we look at the numbers again, comparing, Biden lost by 475,000 votes and no won by 430,000 votes. So I think, like, similar to what you were saying earlier about the lesson for conservatives, and like that, I think there's a message here. There's a lesson here for progressives to take, and how to message Republican overreach, not just on abortion, but on democracy. I think it was a dual message. And if you look at the ads there, it was about both those things. It was about protecting people's personal civil rights, but also about fighting against people trying to rig the process.
And Amy and I are unabashedly pro-life. But Republicans, we need to learn how to message this with a lot more empathy than we are showing. And this is not an isolated incident. There are lessons that the Republican Party needs to learn that they are not learning on this issue. The people are speaking. They are telling. We don't have to agree with what they are saying, but if we want them to vote with us, we have to do something quite different than what we're doing.
I mean,
well, and the person running against Sherrod Brown, who is like one of the GOP's top targets in Ohio for Senate,
was the Secretary of State.
He jumped in.
Yep.
Yeah, he jumped in and said, "Oh, he put all his chips into this primary," and so it's going to be much easier for the Democrats to message against him and for Sherrod Brown's team to say, "Look, this man wanted to take away your rights and wanted to pull a fast one." And you guys said no, which is helpful.
Yeah.
I think overall Republicans are just clueless when it comes to women. Like, I mean, I can't say it enough. And this idea that, frankly, that there's, we've talked about this. There are 3 women left in the Senate Republican caucus in the state of Minnesota. Women are slowly climbing. We're not 50% yet, which we'll talk about a little bit with Barbie too. But we've just hemorrhaged women, right? That's why we do so terribly in the suburbs. That's why I know Republican women that were so upset with Republicans this last go around on the decisions that they made, ways that they spoke about abortion and women's health care, and because it goes beyond that, right? It's not just about abortion, but folks want to talk about other parts. About, I remember there was our lieutenant governor candidate talked about, well, the culture of abortion and how women dress and how they have careers. Like, there's a real fear, and people can say, oh, you're pretty even now, but there's a deep fear of women because it hasn't been but a minute since we're starting to feel like maybe, just maybe, we're getting some kind of equality. And then you have folks that say things like that out loud. And it's disturbing and terrifying to have a guy tell you that, that this is all about how you dress, still throw these old throwback gross things about how women dress and about having careers. And that is where we just lose. We lose every single time. And we don't just lose, independent women or Democrat women. We're losing all women, and the polls show it over and over and over.
But we're turning Republican women into independent women.
Oh, completely, because how can, again, I'll just point to our Minnesota Senate. 3 women left. 3 women in the whole caucus of 33.
I mean, we ran more than that. The Democrats just beat them.
No, like 1 or 2 more.
Well, we had a lot of House candidates.
A bunch of the women that, yes, we did. The House did very well. You know who was recruiting over there? Ann New.
Yeah.
There you go.
So this weekend, it was my daughter's 13th birthday. So happy birthday, Lady Sarah.
Oh.
But also, I went and saw the Barbie movie. And, I won't even say a lot of Republicans, a few Republicans are choosing to go into the movie with the wrong attitude. Bill Maher called Barbie preachy, man-hating, but fun. I really enjoyed it. There were parts that I thought were laugh out loud funny. It was a little bit more violent than I thought it was going to be. I mean,
Violent?
Well, when
Spoilers.
when Martin Luther King was murdered, and then I can still hear my daughter's screams from that, and then the questions she had about whether Lee Barbie Oswald acted alone.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Workshopping. Workshopping Joe.
And I'm
All right.
saying no.
I'm going to be at the Chuckle Hut this Sunday. No, but anyway, I think, and then I'll let everyone else talk about it. I think that everyone will go to Barbie and they will see the lesson that they want somebody else to learn. But I think if you really, really watch Barbie, there's lessons for other people to learn and lessons for both men and women and all political people to learn as well. What'd y'all think about it?
Well, I mean, I thought that frankly, the men and
Amy, your mic is off, I think.
Dang it, Brian.
I didn't turn it off.
You did too.
I did not. I did not.
So I think that the
I'm
men
being-
and a
I'm
few
being
women that are
taped.
saying this is man-hating, it's silly.
That's-
One, they probably haven't watched the movie. It's not preachy. It's funny, and it's very true. Like, there's a point where the Barbies have to distract the Kens to sort of to get their attention, and they do things like ask them about the movie The Godfather, and they ask them to sing music for them, which the guys spend 4 hours on the beach playing the guitar and
Spoiler
singing
alert.
at them. I'm just saying, literally everything that they use to distract the men, I have had done to me as a woman. Literally every single one of them. That's why it's funny to us. That's why it's funny to women, because it is so horribly true. And dudes, if you can't laugh at it and you can't see the truth in it, then you're just blind. You're just willfully blind, and and probably maybe haven't gotten laid in a while. It's just like it's funny. It's cute. It has lots of cute costumes. If you played with Barbies like I did, they have the weird Barbie, and she's got writing on her face, which everybody had. So I think everybody knows about Kate McKinnon. In
I
the
don't
movie.
think everybody
All right.
knows.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
Yes.
I think they do.
Yeah,
I
they
think
do.
it's good.
It's.
I thought Bill Maher's critique was so funny because he was like, listen, they go to the Mattel board, and the Mattel board's like led by all these evil dudes. And if you look at the Mattel board, it's 7 men and 5 women. It's like, Bill Maher, this is not a documentary about Mattel. This is
I mean, obviously, Mattel
it's not-
had to
it's
give
not-
them credit to portray them that
I'm
way.
actually surprised Mattel allowed them to portray them as they did. I thought
They're
it
going
was-
to make a lot of
but-
money.
They're going to make a ton of money.
I mean, I think, but the movie, there are a lot of parodies in the movie, including parodies even of feminist criticisms
Yeah.
of Barbie are embedded. Like
100%.
Like I actually just this morning had a my brother who Amy likes because he's Republican.
And
he's
handsome.
hot.
He's handsome.
He's so hot.
Whatever. Yeah.
Your hot Republican brother.
So he sends he sends a meme to my sibling chat, and it's like Meatloaf singing "I Would Do Anything for Love," and then someone says, "We go to the Barbie movie with me," and the meme says, "No, but I won't do that," and I'm just like, what, like, and he's super invested in. He's like, "Well, I'll never see that," and it was like, well, but. Like he said, I don't like the message. I said, what message don't you like of this movie that you haven't seen?
Yeah.
And it would I know what he digests. He digests a lot of Fox News. And it just felt so it just feels so weird.
Right,
Like
it's
I'm
so
like fine, don't go see it. I don't care, whatever. Like, but everything's getting elevated to this, or people are trying to elevate. I actually think it's unsuccessful. The movie's super sick. Like
Yes.
people are going to see it anyway. But I just thought it brings up lots of I mean, my experience of Barbie as a kid, right? My sister had a million Barbies. She had a Barbie dream house. She had this, whatever. And there was one time I made an outfit for Skipper. It was
How did your family not know?
it was a very cute jumpsuit. Well, to tell you the story, actually, like that. So
jumpsuit.
a jumpsuit. It was a jumpsuit. It was adorable. Like our friend Karen would have loved it. Go do it. So we're at my cousin Tony's apartment, and my other cousin Rafi's girlfriend was watching my sister and me play, and she saw Skipper in her jumpsuit. She said, "Oh, that's so cute. Who made it?" My sister locks eyes with me. She was probably 5. I was 8. My sister locks eyes with me and says to her, "I did it."
she took credit.
No. It was a recognition that we exchanged that was not a proper thing for a boy to do. It is seared into my brain as a moment when I of sort of learning gender roles, whatever. It was just the fact that an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old could just with a glance know, I'm like, you say you did it because I didn't want the family knowing that I had made this jumpsuit. And so and it genuinely, when I think about that, it pains me. And so I was, for me, the film was just this fun way of looking at all the crazy stuff that we're told about gender. Like it's just, we're all told crazy things. You know what boys can do, what girls can do,
Yes,
whatever.
how to act, how to look, what to wear.
And just being able to step back and laugh at it was just joyful. And
Ken loves horses. And
yeah,
like,
right.
that's supposedly
or
a
beach.
dude.
What are you good at? Beach.
I'm good at beach. Are you a lifeguard? A lot of
Like
people
it's just
make
like it's just funny. Like just why would you rob yourself of joy? Who cares?
Well, and even if it is making fun of me or you, whoever you might be, you can't laugh at yourself a little bit. I mean, it was well done, and every once in a while, when someone zings you, you just have to say, okay, 1 point for you. You did a good job, and it zinged feminists, it zinged women as a whole. It had plenty of criticism to go around, but yes, guess what? Old white men. We're not the main target for this movie, so we're not supposed to like it the most. We're just not supposed to.
I do think it was interesting when you said it because about the feminists, right? Like because Barbie was started by a woman who really wanted girls to have an option that weren't baby dolls, and that's how it. This is not a spoiler. It starts with this, and it points out that for hundreds of years, women, 1,000 years, when girls have been playing with dolls, but they were always baby dolls. So the only thing you could do was be a mommy. And so when she created Barbie could be all kinds of things, a scientist and a president and all of these things. And so now her idealism and the way she's built and her body and all of her life is, completely out of whack. And a lot of feminists hate that. But Barbie was, was like freeing. It was a different type of doll that girls never played with before. And it was a completely different idea. And in its own way, a feminist icon. And it explores all of those like dichotomies, which, it's a very sharp movie. That's all. Folks, if you're complaining about it, you probably haven't seen it. And the costumes are amazing. They're amazing. I loved them. I didn't see a good jumpsuit, but
And last
what they were missing was a good, cute jumpsuit.
last thing I'll say before we move on to plugs and spanks and thanks and everything is that Republican Party, we just can't take the joy out of everything.
Right.
This is just not the way to build the party. It's not.
have you seen it, Davis? Have you seen Barbie yet?
No, not yet. I think we're going to see it this week.
Ah.
Before we get to plugs, very sad news. For those of us that work in and around the Minnesota State Capitol, longtime lobbyist Eric Highland passed away over the weekend. He had some health problems in the last couple of years, but his death still very much came as a shock to us all. Eric was somebody who served as a mentor to a lot of us, and there were some very important lessons that I learned about lobbying from Eric, and he will definitely be missed. So just wanted to send my condolences to his friends and family, and say that Eric had a very important role up at the Capitol, and that he touched many of our lives in many different ways. So very sad. Plugs. Who has got something to say?
Can I just say that we have a new member?
Ooh.
Exclusive.
Whoa, 2 weeks in a row.
Heidi Schregman.
Oh, Heidi.
Isn't that a nice name?
Yeah,
Heidi
she
Schwegman.
sounds very nice.
I like saying that name.
Not being a dick.
Yes, Heidi did this great thing. Heidi decided that she enjoys our show enough that she would go onto patreon.com/wrongaboutEverything podcast and throw a few bucks in our direction. You don't have to do a lot. You could just be a couple bucks, just something like that. Because you know what, we got bills to pay, and we come here every week to talk about politics. We see the downloads. We know people are enjoying it, or at least listening to it. I hope people aren't. Well, I don't care if you hate listening to it. If you hate listening to it, that's fine.
Right.
Just throw us some dollars too. It goes straight into production. We generally appreciate all the support. Also, just want to mention a listener, William Scar. I think he might go by Bill, but I'm not sure. He sent me a picture. He was in Thunder Bay, Canada, and he sent me a picture of a display that he saw in a store with a sign that says "Don't be a dick." I was like, yes. So if you can afford it and can throw some bucks our way, we genuinely appreciate it. Patreon.com/wrongaboutEverything podcast. Because if you can afford it and you are and you listen to the show and enjoy it and you're not doing it, you're kind of being a dick. So
A little bit. Amy?
Tuesdays you can catch Brian and I on the BS podcast, and let's see, with Bob Sansevier and radio stations across the state. I think that's the only plug I have.
Davis?
I got nothing.
Got
You
nothing.
can find me online at davismeansbusiness.com, but that's it.
All right. Who wants to go first? Thanks and thanks.
I can. I'm trying to not be so spanky, but I can't help it. Sorry. So Florida, the AP Psychology, the College Board has let Florida know that that AP Psychology won't be able to teach that in Florida because of the ban on discussions of sexual orientation. Like how you could have a psychology class and not like just address that sexual orientation is something that happens is beyond me. But the College Board said the state's ban of this content removes choice from parents and students coming just days from the start of school. It derails the college readiness and affordability plans of thousands of Florida students currently registered for AP Psychology, one of those popular AP classes in the state. So again, more ramifications to the war on queer people that Ron DeSantis seems to think is his path to the White House. So spank them. Actually, this one I can do as a thank. There's an article in Jewish Insider. Thank you. Hat tip to friend of the program and former co-host Karen Maratz about IPAC stepping up its efforts to oust anti-Israel lawmakers. And there's a specific note in there about that in last year's or the last election, the primary between Don Samuels and Ilhan Omar, that Don Samuels had complained that the pro-Israel lobby had not done enough for him, and so they mentioned now that they're looking at encouraging Latricia Vita, the council member in North Minneapolis, to challenge Congresswoman Omar, and I say, like, to IPAC, if you want to, in progressive urban centers, if we want to make Israel a deciding factor, let's have that debate. Let's have that, like, if you want to support Israel in its current form and what it is doing right now and what it has been doing and the apartheid state has become, let's have that. Let's have at it, because it will not be a winning issue. And where they have been successful, they actually are very stealth in their messaging. They don't message on Israel. They message on other things. But if you want to pour lots of money into races like this one, let's have it out. And you'll, I think, get a rude awakening that progressives are much more critical of the human rights record of Israel.
All right. Who's next?
I can go. Okay, so my thank on this day with the scumbag Lazaro getting 21 years is going to go out to my fellow Republicans, because I'm going to do a shout back to when these allegations began to surface. And it was a touchy time because, as we said, Lazaro was a friend of the then GOP chair who had just won re-election and kind of had a lock on the party. And there were a lot of rank and file Republicans on Twitter that stepped up and called for not just him to be fully ousted, but that the chair would step down, which eventually she did, because of how she treated staff members at the party, but also her affiliation with Lazaro. Republicans, and also, by the way, there were a lot of young college Republicans that had been harassed by both Lazaro and the chair that stepped up despite getting criticism and despite putting perhaps their political future in an unknown hands. And then there was a lot of other Republicans that stepped up to support them and to share their stories. And Republicans, I want to say thank you. I remember. And also, this is the way that it should be. When there are folks in our party that are unacceptable, do not stand by and allow that to continue. You need to step up and be brave and strong. And I'm very proud. And so thank you to Republicans for the work and for what you did there. And we're not going to name names, but there were lots of you. And so thank you. And then my spank, this goes back to last week, and you all thought that I was probably a conspiracy theory nut. Because I started talking about how there was like all these stories about Ashton Kutcher, who showed up at a Caribou in Fergus, and Lady Gaga, we don't know why, was at a restaurant in Minneapolis, which, by the way, I got the scoop. Her boyfriend lives here.
Her boyfriend lives here?
Oh,
I'm getting all the scoop because if you go to the salon as much as I do and the nail place, you get all the scoop. But additionally, and so here's my spank. It's still happening. I'm not wrong. I'm going to be found out right that all the Hollywood elites are moving here and they're going to try to take our beautiful climate and our water, and we cannot allow it to happen.
They can't export our climate.
Well, they're going to move in. They're going to raise prices like they did in Montana and Colorado.
Yeah.
I know exactly what they're doing. And so this is kind of a double spank because all right, news story that came out, James Cameron, Avatar director and Titanic, and was eating at the boat club in Duluth recently. How does James Cameron find Duluth? Well, apparently Jessica Lange. Maybe that's his story. But the point is, he says he's out here scouting movie locations. He's not. He's scouting our Lake Superior beautiful water. I know what he's doing. Also, heard at the salon this week that Ludacris was in town getting a blowout at the Edina Dry Bar before he got his braids. He was in town for a party on Drake's yacht on Minnetonka. It's happening.
What?
I'm telling you. I'm right. But here's also what I would like. The Ludacris story I just got here. That was not in the news, thank goodness. But also, like local news, maybe don't have a story every time a celeb comes here because it does make us look a little bit like rubes. Like, hey, did you see James Cameron? And then that's like a front page story.
Did you see that?
So it's a double spank. Stop coming here. You don't get our water and our beautiful spaces and drive up our real estate prices and make us have to have reservations at Moonlight Bay. We don't want it. And also maybe local news, just stop acting like it's such a big deal every single time.
Did you see that on our Facebook page, listener Caleb Murphy, he posted that same article and said, "Hey, this is to Amy's theory, like Cameron." And I was like,
and he didn't even know about Ludacris, which I just broke.
You just broke.
Yeah, I did.
It's the wrong about everything. Scoop is Ludacris.
The scoop is Ludacris was at the Edina Dry Bar over the weekend.
Wow.
And apparently Drake was on Minnetonka on a yacht.
Davis.
Okay.
my turn. All right. So my thank goes, you may have seen today, my thank goes to Jack Smith. He's doing a lot. He's very busy indicting Donald Trump. But I feel like he really took one for the team because now we know that he also got access to Donald Trump's Twitter. And I can't even begin to imagine what is probably in those DMs. Like so much crime, so much ridiculousness, so much and so thank you, Jack Smith, or whoever on your team had to go through and read all those DMs. Wow. And thank you for fighting as long as you did to keep it quiet because Twitter said, well, we got to tell him. And Jack Smith was like, you absolutely cannot tell him. And the court agreed with him. So doing the Lord's work there, Jack Smith's team. And then, so that's my thank. And my spank goes to the Minneapolis School Board. We have talked in the past about different things happening in Minneapolis public schools. Their enrollment's way down. They have budget issues. There've been, they've had trouble with crime and with people leaving the district. And the school board decided, and then undecided, but decided that this week the most important thing they could do at their meeting was to make nitty little changes to the policy of whether kids can have cell phones during school. And to make these changes about they wanted to take out having a cell phone for students is a privilege, not a right. They were like, well, we're going to take that out. And then when teachers and parents said, when did you decide this was an issue we need to talk about? The school board said, oh, we'll postpone these changes. It's just like, Come on, guys. This is not the most important thing. There's other very important things. Don't worry about the cell phone. This is not pressing. This is not going to make or break our students' futures or whether they do well in school. Just do better.
All right.
So that's my spank.
With you, man.
I've got some double spanks. The first one's very serious, and it's upsetting, and I don't know that it's upsetting in a political way because it's legal stuff, but it's upsetting, in a what our society's doing kind of way. So the headline is: Man sentenced to probation for raping homeless woman at downtown St. Paul parking ramp. And this was, the gentleman's name was Liban Mohammed Dahir. He was arrested and charged with first-degree criminal sexual conduct in November 2019 after his DNA in a burglary case in Massachusetts linked him to the aforementioned April 6th, 2017 assault. Now, there's a lot of talk about how we're letting criminals go free and we're not charging them enough for, the car thefts in Minneapolis and this and that. But this was how someone like this could get just probation. Everything was delayed. Court proceedings were delayed a little bit because of the pandemic, but also he failed to appear at 3 hearings. And then, there was a downward departure from the state sentencing guidelines handed down by Ramsey County judge. The judge asked for more, and it was per agreement of the parties.
Oh, my God.
And some of the specifics. So the homeless woman, the victim here, I shouldn't say the homeless woman, the victim here, did not want to go forward with the trial because it was traumatizing, which I absolutely understood. But she has a severe traumatic brain injury from this. She told the man as he was attempting to rape her, "I'll let you do what you want, just don't hurt me." And what does it say here? Instead, the man repeatedly punched her in the face, slammed her head onto the concrete floor. Then he removed her clothes and raped her. And this person is going to hurt somebody else. I understand absolutely the trauma that the victim would have to relive. But you cannot tell me that this person who then took her cell phone and threatened her with a gun, saying, "I'll kill you if you look at me," that this person is in any way, shape, or form fit to be walking around. We need to examine what's going on here because there was DNA in this case. You can't tell me that the whole case hinged on
The
her
victim
on the victim
Absolutely
statement. So anyway, that is a big spank. And then in another spank, Anheuser-Busch, who we've talked about on the show, is selling 8 of its. I'm going to change it to a thank. I'm going to be a little bit more positive on this. Anheuser-Busch is selling 8 of its beloved brands as the Bud Light trauma plagues its business. Why I'm switching it to a thank is because these giant corporations are soulless. They talk about this a little bit in the Barbie movie too. But anyway, they're soulless. They're not left or right. They're all about money. And so what they did before they decided what their change in course was going to be after the Bud Light issue, they did, of course, polling and they did focus groups. And this is what I'm going to think. Because what the head of the company said was, regardless of favorability, our consumers across all sentiment groups have had 3 points of feedback in common. 1, they want to enjoy their beer without a debate. 2, they want Bud Light to focus on beer. And 3, they want Bud Light to concentrate on the platforms that all consumers love. So how about this? Rather than trying to trick people into buying your beer because you're woke or because you're redneck or whatever, just make good beer. And we'll buy it. And we'll drink it. And we'll have a good time. And with that...
That's not good beer.
No, I wouldn't drink it anyway. But it could be. They should focus on good beer. You're right.
Or stick to their lane of bad beer.
You know what? Bud Light and
Keep making your bad beer.
You know what Bud Light and having sex in a canoe have in common?
What?
They're both fucking close to water. That's not an original. Anyway, with that, I am conservative strategist and Coors Light drinker, Brian McDaniel.
I've got my eye on you, Holly Weird. Amy Koch.
Is Coors the better beer, according to you?
Coors is
Barely.
delicious.
Oh, Jesus
It's
Christ.
delicious.
Oh, my God. All right.
He has like a jumpsuit.
I do.
He has like an
does.
outfit.
I do.
yeah.
It's delightful.
I will not be drinking beer with Brian McDaniel, the Puerto Rican heat, Javier Murillo.
And I'm small business attorney David Simpson.
And we are
Wrong about everything.
Wrong about everything.